Okay. I do know Eric, is unable to join us and Leroy as well. I've not heard from Michaela. Eric did provide the, meeting from the August 28th meeting that, I would ask you to consider.
Just grabbing the agenda here.
Okay. I know Bill has a hard stop at 7, just,
All right.
sort of manage
So hurry up.
expectations.
All right.
No, no,
Yeah.
no.
All right, so I'll call us to order and I'll go by. So we got attendance. So,
Yeah, I got it.
all right, great. And we'll start with the minutes. Can I get a motion to approve the minutes?
So move.
Is there a second?
Second.
Great, all in favor? All right.
Okay.
Still looking for the agenda. Time.
I'm sorry. I
Here,
sent
here
you
we
on
go.
Friday
All right.
or Monday, excuse me.
Discussion about the affordable housing program rental option. Bill, you've done a little bit of work on this. Or maybe a lot of work on this. I'll kick us off just by saying we've been approached by at least one person who's I guess a participant in the affordable housing rental program or the affordable housing program that because of circumstances around when they bought in the interest rate environment, when they bought, let's see, has in things, circumstances in their life has expressed sort of a potential concern about being stuck in their house, I guess is a way to say it. Has asked us to look into alternatives for relief, either in terms of financial relief or other use relief. And one of the things that we've talked about is whether or not maybe the home could be used as a rental in some way, shape, or fashion. And Bill, you've done some advanced work on this, and maybe I could kick that over to you to talk about that.
Thanks, Brian. So I made a few notes and I sent them to Tom
Yeah,
today. I don't know whether they got to everybody, but.
No, I just shared them with Brian.
Brian, there you go. Anyways, there's, these are some of the notes. I started jotting down some of them, it's the simple answer is yes, these can be converted to rental properties. I mean, the first two sections here on this one page here. Section 2.4 talks about owner occupancy requirement. It's pretty explicit. If you research, you're reading the agreement, you don't get very far when you find out that owner occupancy requirement is a priority. And then you get to 6.3, and then it talks about the conversion to rental property. And then it says in the event the town allows the property to be converted.
So how does that square though? So if it's owner occupancy requirement,
I assume this supersedes it, right? And
notwithstanding
No.
2.4.
right.
Town allows you to.
Right, well, like, the question to me is like allows, what does that mean? I mean, whoever allows that should have some criteria. So the answer to the question is pretty simple, yeah, you can rent them. Then there's some practical aspects, but Tom, you're right, is there some clarity that needs to happen around, notwithstanding paragraph 2.4? Because somebody thought about this, right, when they put this together, or
It was around this table. I'm not sure how.
Yeah.
We did. We spent a lot of time.
Well, somebody, or they picked it up from some other,
Yeah.
somebody else who put this document, has had some experience with this situation. So the answer to the question is, yeah, sounds pretty easy. Now, the border, what I've outlined below, we can come back to some of these bullets that I've made, but what I've included here too, down below is the whereas provision comes out of the rent affordable housing agreement. The section 7C comes out of the ordinance. Okay, so I tried to chase down what the linkage was, right? And clearly in the agreement, it talks about the ordinance, and the ordinance being, this section 7C. but it doesn't read very well, flow very well. I mean, section 7C, the ordinance. It's got 4 kind of subcategories: residential density factors, affordable housing density bonus, affordable housing in lieu of fee. There's 2 Cs here. Affordable housing certainty. I just copied these. And I think that affordable housing certainty was added at the time that you entered into the affordable housing, or it looks like it. So I couldn't find real clear definition of rental occupied housing unit, right? There's no, somebody else can try to find it too, but you know, I couldn't find it. The only thing I could see is this reference under B2, where it talks about home ownership, A, and then it talks about B, rental ownership, or I'm sorry, the other way around.
Other way around.
The other way around. Rental and then home ownership. And I think that's what the affordable housing agreement is getting to. But that's kind of a sidebar to the real issue.
Yeah, so the background is chapter 405, which you're referencing there, is our official definition of what is affordable to Scarborough. And it's 8% AMI. And it can come in 2 different forms: homeownership or rental.
Yeah.
So that's the backdrop.
Yeah, and it makes sense, you know, and
This program was always conceived and designed as the home ownership of option, if you
Mhm.
will. And that's not to say, and it appears as though we've given a nod that rental is an option to be considered under 6.3.
right,
I think, as you pointed out, there's some practical and considerations that we need, in as much for consistency as anything, right?
yeah,
There's also a legal question I have, is that these agreements we have with every individual homeowner are recorded against their deed.
right.
So do we go to the extent of modifying these agreements and re-recording, or is there another way to memorialize this? There could be something that's
Yeah.
an addendum or
Well,
on top of this.
I mean, if this,
I have a question, and I don't have the benefit of having whatever you've got in front of you, but that's all right. My question is, so if we've got this person that's got ownership in the house, and if he or she sells or attempts to sell under the contract or the agreement or deed, whatever restrictions, whatever it is required to follow a certain formula, and as a result ends up upside down. Is that correct? Am I?
yeah, pretty much, yeah.
Okay,
yeah.
so they're upside down right now. So then how renting gonna benefit this person?
Recording in progress.
Whoa,
All right, Jay, Ryan.
that's okay. So who benefits from the so-called rental? First of all, do you have to rent to someone who's also workforce
Yeah,
or
you'd
whatever?
have to rent to somebody who's qualified, and what it does is it allows you to probably cover your expenses on your mortgage.
Yeah,
Without having to take the hit in selling it. And so you can hold on to it and continue to, yeah.
so then my question is, that answers my question. So who benefits from that? And so it's the owner? It's not us who hold the second mortgage or?
We don't hold the second mortgage.
So.
Yeah, that's
so-
right. I misspoke, but have the deed
So,
restriction?
Jean Marie, these
Yep.
agreements are for 30 years, right?
Yep,
So, you know, who knows? They might want to live in it for 10 or 15 years and then rent it out for 10 or 15 years. Let the agreement expire and then sell at market value. They can do whatever they want after that point, right?
well, right.
That's one scenario. Another scenario is they just might want to rent it. Instead of living it.
Okay, so as long as they're renting to someone who's also in need of housing with a lower income, I can see that. I just wasn't sure how that would work. So, okay,
No, you are.
Yeah, the renter. If the renter has to call, and from what I read,
okay,
the only thing that they have to qualify is the income limit.
right.
That's-
Yeah, I think so. Yeah. The question I have is like, how much, I'm not sure you get very close. That's the problem. you know, I think it's
To
gonna
covering
be,
your costs.
yeah.
Got it.
You know,
But in the instance, and these are all specific to the situation, this woman met a guy and wanted to move in with him. And so at least this would allow her to live her life in a way she wants to and ideally cover her costs or at least.
Yeah.
But at this point, somebody comes to us and says, I wanna rent my unit. How do we do
Thank
that?
you, Brian.
Yeah.
well, it says town allows, and
Right.
like,
So,
who?
Yeah, so I think that's the question, and
Who would
and
know?
Tom, I mean,
Yeah.
Maybe to your point.
Maybe it says Tom allows.
Yeah,
It
maybe
just says-
it's just bad typing.
Yeah.
I mean, I think we could keep these agreements in place as is and then have a sort of a side policy statement of what town allows means. Yeah, so without upsetting the apple cart with, you know, because this agreement permits the rental to take place and it gives guidance of who you rent to and how you rent to them. And then if we've got sort of a policy statement within the town of how to implement that town allowing. I don't know that would have to be part of the recorded agreement because it's more procedural.
Right, because the
than
recorded
restrictive.
agreement is still against the deed, it still controls what happens with that property ultimately. Selfishly, I do have a bit of a concern, it will
That
be
comes
me
up.
or someone that sits in that chair that will be. On an annual basis needing to certify that the renter meets the requirements. The beauty of rental in terms of, traditional affordable housing, we've got a professional. Affordable housing developer who has a property management arm, they're providing, annual, well,
Yeah,
there's all sorts of other
It's third
entities that
party
are
though,
more
yeah.
concerned about that than I am.
Mhm.
I have no concern that they're not renting to people that, they have to.
But, the seller has to make a statement annually now, provide you or the
Yeah, they
town
don't.
with it, they don't. But hypothetically, it's supposed to, and they could hypothetically continue to do that.
Yeah.
Now they have to
Yeah.
qualify that my renter meets these
Yeah.
criteria.
That's what it's, that's in the second section, C, second C section,
Mm,
the second season.
Right,
right?
right.
And it says it goes to the town manager.
Yep.
So are we discussing how the town manager makes the decision or who he goes to? Make a decision to,
I think that's right, we could come
Prove
up
that.
with a policy, and the beauty of the policy is that it ideally ensures consistency, that we'll look at every similar request and consider it against the same standard. So I would love this group to help advise what are the circumstances under which we consider it,
Mm,
and
would
what
you-
requirements would we impose on it. if you
Mhm.
will.
and would you want this committee to approve that when somebody would come to us? Come to the town, or do you want?
I don't know that that's necessary,
Okay.
It might be nice if, if when this gets utilized, it's, this committee gets notice of it.
sure.
Yeah, but yeah, I don't know.
But I think the town manager, the certification.
Keep it simple?
Yeah,
Yeah,
If it comes on my watch, I'm certainly gonna make you aware that I've received this request, to administer, follow the policy.
Yeah.
Let's face it, we've got 7 properties in this portfolio. So, it's not gonna be every day, every month,
Yeah.
even every year occurrence.
Yeah.
But when I thought about it, to the bullets I added, were basically like, how do you make these determinations, is it an economic hardship? Is it a personal convenience?
yeah,
I am concerned, if you look at the gross monthly rents, and those would include utility expenses,
Mhm.
for expenses, for utilities. They're not that high, and, this 80 to 120 is a 40%
yeah,
difference, and so,
Mhm.
they were underwritten at 120.
Yeah.
Right,
yeah,
in order to
yeah.
qualify for the home ownership program, and so they.
Were they?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's what it says, right? He's got that here, right?
Yeah, for the,
Because for the renter, it said 80%,
Well, that's what we got,
Yeah.
that's what the
Yeah.
definition is.
Yeah.
right?
So if you were underwritten, if you're carrying a household and you were underwritten at 120 AMI. And now you're gonna rent to somebody at 80% AMI.
Yeah.
1 bedroom is 15, I don't know what the 7 units make up in terms of bedroom mixes and so forth, but.
2s and 3s.
2s and 3s. So you get $1,800 a month for a 2-bedroom,
Yeah.
that's not gonna get you very far.
Yeah.
So these, this 1 bedroom, 2 bedroom rents that you put in there, that's max? that
Yeah.
Main housing will allow?
Well, yeah, that's the way they calculate, the way under the definition, you gotta spend
Yeah.
30% of 80% of AMI.
Those numbers will change every year.
Wow.
They'll go up slightly.
Yeah.
But that's rent only,
It's utilities, it's housing
Everything.
costs,
the whole shebang?
the whole shebang.
Okay, okay.
Which, you know, is also a bit of a challenge, understanding what those costs are and calculating those in.
Yeah, yeah,
For simplicity, it may be
Bizarre.
easiest to look at at the rental amount and then,
Yeah, you know, what's just a little, or very in the weeds, but a little interesting about it is, when. When the buyer has this calculation done, you know, that. Well, utilities get subtracted from that number. I think insurance gets subtracted and HOA fees get subtracted and taxes get subtracted. I think when we're talking about a renter, you would only subtract utilities. So maybe there's a little bit more net, but the homeowner is still gonna pay the tax.
oh, yeah.
Right,
Oh,
so-
there's a gap,
So it, you know, it maybe change, I guess. Changes things a little bit,
I think
Yeah.
it's gonna be, it's not gonna be a panacea for the
Yeah.
owner.
Yeah.
And-
yeah,
And then do you wanna let this thing go on for 30 years?
Right.
Or
I mean-
you term this out after a certain.
as a town, we're getting more affordability, which is
Yeah.
nice, right?
period. Yeah, no, I mean, you get the,
yeah,
It's a plus.
let's not lose sight of the fact that we're still achieving our policy
Yeah.
goals, right?
Yeah,
but you're doing it probably at a cost to the owner.
But given the circumstances, they may choose not to
Right.
do it,
Right.
right?
Yeah, you can give the option, I just think you need to anticipate that
Yeah.
it may or may not work.
Yeah.
And then, you gotta leave room, what if they market it and you've got a renter in there, it just, I don't envy having to make this decision in
Yeah.
terms of the factors that have to be thought
So
about.
I'm confused about the conversation you just had a moment ago about 120 was the standard for owner occupied and 80% is the standard for rental.
Mhm.
It. Right now, it is 88, it's the same
In the ordinance,
in the ordinance.
really?
At one time, our definition of affordable was 120.
Oh, interesting.
Say, and here,
Sure.
in this ordinance, that this section 5C, that the agreement references, the agreement references
Oh.
section,
This
this
is the
section
zoning
of
ordinance.
the ordinance. And the only definition there is 120.
This is the different section.
What, no, what,
That's an oversight because
This is also different text here, Tom, than this.
Yeah, see, the linkage, like that whereas paragraph comes from the agreement. And that's referencing 7C.
right,
7C, I had trouble finding the definition, and the only reference I could find is under that section B. And then I've seen this before, but it doesn't, this isn't in section 7C. If 80% gets you there, right? 80% is a better number.
Yeah, except I think a lot of these people, so that change, that 80/80 is a change that was made, over the last couple of years.
Okay.
I think the people that bought these houses, I think
120.
almost certainly bought them as 120 households.
That would
So you
be,
kind of run into that problem.
this change, this in 7C is dated July of 2023.
That,
I don't know.
really?
I mean, I got this off the
yeah, I'll sort this out.
Yeah.
web. I just went to the ordinance and copied it out.
Well, it's on the internet.
I'm
Well, it
quite
must be
sure.
true.
Wikipedia.
We can verify it, but I'm
Yeah.
quite sure because
Oh, I'm sorry, that approves housing developments as of 2023.
Oh.
So anything
I'm-
previous to
I'm
that was
quite
probably
sure that-
80.
these folks in the 7 homes were subject to the 80%
Yeah.
definition, not 120.
Really?
Because the last amendment date I had was 19, that project, they didn't buy it until December of 18, so those units didn't exist until sometime.
That's pretty generous,
2019.
actually. That's a pretty good,
120?
well, what, 80?
Oh, really?
80%? Yeah, for ownership, that's a squeeze. I mean, I
Oh,
would
yeah.
expect 120 for
Yeah.
a home ownership unit.
I
Right.
think what happened was there was a policy perception that there wasn't much of a difference between the house you could buy in this program if you were selling to people at 120 and market rate housing.
I bet.
And so there was kind of a push to squeeze that down to 80 to serve a different group of people,
But then that increased in 2023.
and everything changed.
Well, and now we've officially created a definition of affordable, which is 120. Workforce, excuse me, workforce, at 120.
Oh, look at this, it is 80 and 80.
Yeah, that's different.
Jeez. Huh. Wow. Oh, last amended 9-4, oh, that's a different.
The most recent amendment was the addition of a workforce definition
Got it.
at 120. And I think it probably sits right next to your affordable definition at 80. Should.
Yeah, there's an amendment, it looks like September of 24. Well, that's section 6. Well,
I don't know, I know I pushed that workforce.
That was
Because
probably a year and a half ago.
It
Chief Marie.
becomes, huh?
It was probably a year and a half ago, right?
I was gonna say, yeah. Cause,
I'll
it's
work
so
with the plan.
needed in Scarborough, cause the median sales price of a house in Scarborough is over 800,000 now.
So would the group be amenable to assisting me to develop, I'll say, a policy for consistency purposes in terms of how, practically speaking, we would administer this?
Probably up our alley.
Yeah.
I mean,
That's what we
qualify,
signed on for.
yeah, right.
qualify the renter.
Like, what it takes for the town to allow.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
That they would need to
Wow.
traditionally make their request.
Sure.
And it wouldn't, like, this requires me to then respond in kind to say,
Yeah.
here's your limits.
Right.
Here's your requirement for reporting, so on and so forth.
Sounds like a spreadsheet, Tom.
I know a guy.
Yeah, right. Yeah, that's great.
The good news is we're not on any specific time crunch. I think the one homeowner inquired generally about the possibility.
Yeah.
We didn't promise.
Yeah, I think there's probably less urgency at this point.
So if we go down this road, am I obligated to communicate this change, so to speak, an opportunity to all current holders of the agreement?
We've got the agreement. The agreement is pretty explicit. I mean, if I
Yeah, I
was
don't
gonna,
think there is a change to the agreement.
Fair enough.
But maybe it'd be nice for the person who's interested to let them know that we're working on a policy to implement
yeah, we chased it
a
down.
previously unused section of the agreement. But
If I do that, it's gonna spawn requests.
I think it's, yeah,
Right.
It's not that hard to find. I mean, honestly, I mean, if you were a homeowner, and you got a 2 or 3 page agreement that you entered into, this was pretty clear. This wasn't buried.
So,
So,
no,
and
but Bill, you know,
I know,
many of these folks are first time home buyers.
I know, I know.
I
It
don't-
doesn't hurt.
It's never been brought up that at the closing table that I might want to rent my place.
yeah, right.
So,
That's
Yeah.
true. That's very true.
Yeah.
so they're gonna say, well, I want to rent it. So what does it mean by the town allows?
I suspect these conversations will probably come forward like this most recent one did. Someone's gonna say.
Right.
I've got to change the life situation. I'd like to sell the
Yeah.
house. And I look at the numbers and like, that doesn't work. for me.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, one of the things that's probably the case, and I don't know if it's on us to run down or not, but I think all of these are in the downs. And if that's the case, there's probably HOA rules that govern
Yeah.
renting over there. And so, one thing for us as we're building this policy to check on is to make sure that whatever the person proposes is in conformance with any HOA rule.
That's probably the policy.
Right.
That's one of the questions
Yeah.
I should probably ask, right? This,
Yeah.
are you allowed?
Yeah, cause usually the HOAs are a minimum of 1 year.
Yeah,
So,
great.
And what if they convert these to short-term rentals?
Oh, Jean Marie will go crazy if they do that. She'd hate
I
that.
won't be on the council anymore.
She
Bill's
will
gonna
rent
have
it.
to deal with it.
That'd be really good. I don't want.
I'm there for that. All right. All right, so that's great. That's a good discussion. Our next discussion looks like just an open-ended discussion.
Yeah, I just, one
Yeah.
piece to share, I don't know that I've mentioned this, but Susquehanna Housing Authority. Interestingly, they're looking to rebrand, retitle themselves, I don't think it's gonna be Scarborough Housing Authority. but It's gonna be something more, at any rate, they are interested in two different properties in town. One has great possibilities, so much so, we're talking about scheduling a joint meeting with the planning board and the council sometime in late December. The property they're looking at is the old Marshview Restaurant on Route
Oh,
1.
yeah.
It's across from On the Vine.
Oh,
It's in the market now. It's
Oh, yeah.
Across from the Vestas.
5 or 6 acre
Yeah.
parcel. It's maybe half of it's developed and open. The back half is somewhat, it's all forested. Their initial concept was to build about 60 units for senior.
Hmm.
And then a number of market units. But they were targeting workforce demographics. In maybe 4 or 6 buildings in the back. Seems a bit tight. And there's some challenges getting access to the site. So we encourage them to speak to the neighbor, which they have. It appears as though there's somewhat of an understanding between two parties that they would have access through the light at the road.
Yeah.
They would tear that iPhone repair place down and build them something similar.
Huh.
And so it's kind of an exciting project, and with that extra lot, they may be able to do another larger building.
great.
So we may be as many as 100 units. in total.
Wow.
Wow.
So it does require contact zone.
Mhm.
It will certainly, it'll look for credit enhancement support, not surprisingly.
Can I
Yeah.
ask a question of Brian or any of you guys who know more about this than I do? I think it's great, you're building senior housing. I'm not saying it's not needed. Scarborough seems to have done a lot with senior housing. Why, is there some reason developers aren't looking more at workforce housing? Because that's gonna be a huge issue, economic issue.
There's no money for it, Jim,
Yeah.
right?
Main
So the
housing-
money, that's what my question is.
Yeah,
All the
yeah, so
federal
there's,
money and state monies are for the
yeah, I
senior,
mean, there's subsidy to build affordable housing.
right?
When you build workforce housing, you artificially limit who can live there.
Right.
and You don't get any benefit in any rent, and there's no subsidy to help you.
Right, I
along.
was gonna say it must be to do with subsidies then, yeah.
So it's like, no benefit on the
Right.
rental side, and you're just limiting yourself. In the universe of people that you can rent to,
Yeah.
which,
Well,
I
I
forget
need
the
to take it
numbers.
to a higher level then.
yeah,
That main does an annual, the
QAP.
QAP. It really sets out their kind of policy preferences, if you will,
Yeah.
right? And
Yeah.
everyone's chasing the
Yeah.
available funds. There is a deficit in the order of 10,000 units senior focused in the state, so I think
Right,
in housing says we still have this great big need over here. Yes, we know we have other need. So I think
Yeah.
that policy just hasn't had enough time to kind of shift.
yeah,
And the need still exists.
yeah, I was curious because geez, I just see it coming, I can just see it coming. Because,
if you-
so grandma or grandpa moves out of their house that Jean Marie then sells, okay? But they're going in, but they're going into one of these affordable housing situations potentially. But their house is gonna, I don't know. It's such a ridiculous market out there. There's just nothing out there for younger workers to live in. Rents, as you guys know, are outrageous. But to, I don't know. I just don't know what we're gonna do because you're seeing restaurants closing, you're seeing, different things being impacted. Cause they don't have employees and it's not, they live elsewhere. They can't afford to live in Greater Portland and they aren't gonna commute an hour from Lewiston, Auburn or wherever. To work in a restaurant around
The,
here.
one of the things that a lot of experts say that, you know, is probably one of the most beneficial things you can do is allow more inventory. And just stop the policies that block housing and
Right. And then
stop making it so difficult to build and stop limiting development. And the more supply you have, the more prices will abate.
you think, but then, but then the reality is you've got constituents who are like, no way, we gotta stop growth.
Well, yeah,
blah,
and,
blah,
and,
blah, blah.
yeah, and they're talking out of both sides of their mouth, right?
I know, you don't have to tell me.
And Jean Marie, one more thing.
Yeah.
So, yeah,
No, I mean, I don't know, it's interesting, and I do know, I mean, I don't know enough yet, but I will, in January, supposedly the county's gonna start getting involved somehow or other. I don't know what the heck they've got up their sleeve, but,
They CDBG.
oh, really?
yeah, so stay
Yeah.
tuned on that
What's the other
too.
lot?
Well,
Huh?
the other lot that also requires contract zone, it's a Jocelyn Place, the project
Oh, yeah.
they just launched
Yeah.
last year, fabulous project. That was on property they purchased from M&R Holdings, who retained a lot on the front side.
Yeah,
That holds, I think it houses the retention pond. But to get the density to build what Jocelyn Place is, they took the density from this other lot. And they were gonna be building a 30,000 square foot commercial lot, no problem. Well, they've been marketing it for years and haven't found a buyer. So, South Portland Housing is interested in buying that and doing another project adjacent.
no kidding.
The problem
Wow.
is, there's no residential zoning, or density.
Oh,
Got it.
That's too bad.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the kind of thing that Brian's talking about.
Right,
If you can get
yeah.
some flexibility to.
Yeah.
To adjust.
Yeah,
And in the meantime, I heard Mercedes is interested in buying it and building a dealership for the Sprinter vans. Which,
oh, jeez.
that'll solve all of
See how much.
it.
Affordable housing, those are big enough to live in.
That's what we
Just
need.
Rolling ADUs.
Yeah.
yeah, they're only 180,000, they're probably.
I was
Yeah.
gonna say they start at
Tiny
like
homes,
150,000 with nothing.
Monetized them.
Yeah.
Well, it's good to have choices.
No real estate taxes.
Well,
Right. Excise.
yeah, that's affordable. That's exciting. That's exciting to have people interested in building in our community and, you know, adding to the inventory.
No, but Bill's point's well taken, you know, all of these things, most of these things of any magnitude and importance requires. Some level of municipal support, whether it's a zone change or a CEA support, or, under market, below market financing,
Yeah.
whatever, or all three.
Yeah,
In fact, all three has been the case for the other ones.
yeah.
I don't know what this legislative session will look like, but, I suspect there'll be continued discussions at the state level about trying to usurp home rule and to
Oh, yeah.
pose more regulations to the state level.
Mhm.
And take it out of our hands, which is gonna be an interesting conversation.
Yeah, I think the less municipalities do to solve the problem, the more there's gonna be pressure
Right, pressure.
to have somebody who wants to solve the problem, solve the problem.
Which is fine, but it's like, show me the money. Where the hell's the money then? You know, you're gonna tell us what to do? Well, okay, give me money for it then.
Well, the toes, the doors crack, open a crack with LD 2003 and
Yeah.
ADUs
Right.
and doubling density, so on and so forth, so.
And that legislation had money for the municipalities for planning and training, which was a nod to,
It was, and they really didn't do any of that.
to recognize that there might be some reimbursement or room.
Yeah.
But the problem is that if a town like Scarborough is doing all they can.
Yep.
And other towns are not doing what they can, you get swept in, Scarborough gets swept into that discussion. So the good guys and the bad guys are hard to discern in this discussion.
Yep.
And that's a problem.
Yeah.
And then that invites legislative oversight. You know,
Yeah.
legislative relief. So that's the problem.
Hmm.
But, you know, the main houses had 23 pre-apps in this QAP, in this round,
Is that right?
Oh,
and they'll get 5 awards. And so,
And all 23 or 20 of them are probably highly worthy projects.
yeah, and highly,
Yeah.
and way down the road. I mean, they all had to have local approvals and, you know, preliminary funding commitments and, you know, they'll have $250,000 in some of those projects. And so they'll be around. You know, it's gonna get stacked to a point where.
Yeah, these aren't, I understand your point. These projects have been around for 2 and 3 years.
Yeah, and
And
then,
waiting.
and 5 of them are gonna come off.
Yeah.
So you add 10
18
more.
left. And,
Yeah,
yeah.
you got 2040 before
Yeah.
something.
Well, and they're small projects, right? I mean, it's 48 units against that,
Right,
you know, 48 times 5, but against that 25,000 units that needs to be built.
Yeah.
So it's like, geez.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's all.
30,000 units in Greater Portland. I think it's 80.
Is that right?
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's just,
And it's only 5 because of funding,
yeah,
right? That's all I got. That's all
and
I got.
market, sometimes market,
Yeah.
Right.
Greater Portland.
Yeah, all 80 don't need to be affordable or workforce. We just need that many units
Yeah.
to meet the need
right.
Yeah.
of all types.
ugh,
That's why we need to build a Gorham connector to build them out in Standish.
Don't get me going on that, but yeah.
Jean Marie, if only you were difficult to wind up, you know?
Drove by all the traffic today again. Yeah, I was in the middle of it. I'm like, yeah, we don't need any help here. No.
You did it.
Alright, so what's next on the agenda?
I was just gonna say, so as that project materializes, if it does,
Yeah.
we will, I'll certainly make sure you get all the materials,
Great.
and at this point, it looks like December 18th, there'll be a meeting with the council.
What's that gonna do to traffic down there?
Well, I think if they can utilize the light, it's gonna help.
Wow.
Immensely.
Sometime.
All those old people going to the beach.
All those what?
It'll reduce traffic.
We lived in
I
Arizona.
wanna see them get across the crosswalk.
Yeah.
Get on the vine.
They should not be allowed to drive during rush hour,
Alright,
but I'm one of them now.
alright, so on to public comment. Do we have any visitors tonight watching our show?
May.
Oh.
No, we've got 3 attendees and we're
Alright.
all present in the counter.
What would be a choice? Alright, so there's one more item on
You're
the
so
agenda.
special, we count you twice.
Hey.
Well, wait, before you adjourn.
Motion
this-
to, oh.
No.
Ah,
I just wanted to say thank you to all of you for all the work that you're doing on affordable housing. This is my very last committee meeting as a town councilor.
Wait, what?
I'm all done. I'm all done. I'm all
Here.
done
It's all
as
washed
of
out.
midnight on November
Council
4th.
representative on the committee, right?
Yeah.
Well, Jean
Yeah,
Marie, thank you for
I'm the
your
liaison.
service. to
And I'm the
us.
liaison, but maybe Mr. Donovan will come back as the liaison, because
Yeah.
he'll be on the council. And once I get into my next thing, which is county commissioner, I would like to come back and serve on a couple boards. I think I can do that by the county rules, but I gotta check.
Good.
That'd be great.
Yeah, and I would love to come back to affordable housing, because I just think it's such an important issue, so. But
Absolutely.
thank you for all of you for putting up with me.
Thank you, Jean
My
Marie.
opinions, my very,
And and Jean Marie, you know, we've had, you know, all sorts of levels of engagement over the years, and it's been really great to have you on this
Great.
committee and to be so engaged and so aware of what all the issues are. So, you know, appreciate you and all that you've given to us.
oh, thank you.
And how you've advocated for all these issues in front of the whole council. It's
And
really
I
been-
will continue to advocate from my new seat too, because it's huge. It's just such a huge issue. So, anyway,
Thank you.
Excellent.
All right.
Well done, Chief.
I've already, someone's gonna make a motion to adjourn quickly, because I already have it at 6:45.
All right, we got.
Don't move.
So, all right, any discussion about what a good idea this is to adjourn? All right, thanks,
Thank you,
everybody.
Ray.
Thank you.
See you.
thank you. Bye.